So to anyone who's just joined, welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking all about AI for Giving Tuesday and year-end campaigns. I'm Isa Hasty, Senior Content Marketing Manager here at Feathr. I'll be sending out the deck after the webinar, so I included my email address here in case you have any questions, want to reach out with any other topics that you think would be helpful for me to cover. I always love to hear feedback like that, so definitely don't hesitate to let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to do a webinar on. I'd be happy to do that. Feathr is the digital marketing platform for nonprofits. So as you can see from this slide here, we kind of run the gamut in terms of serving, human services orgs, animal services orgs, food banks. We have some United Way clients, lots of theaters, orchestras, arts and culture organizations. So hopefully one of these logos resonates with you and feels sort of similar to the type of work that you're doing. And then real quick, I'm going to launch a little poll here. If you'd like me to go ahead and subscribe you to our weekly newsletter, it's called the Good Marketing Brief. You can drop a yes. Let me just launch this real quick. So drop a yes here and I can just go ahead and get you signed up so you don't have to click or do anything. And then you'll start receiving those in your email inbox next Wednesday. But these are full of just tips, tactics, industry news, a great way to kind of stay up to speed on what's happening. And we promote webinars like this one in there, as well as webinars and resources from other organizations and other providers. So definitely kind of a vendor agnostic just view of what's happening in the nonprofit space and opportunities to download resources, tune into webinars, things like that. So I will leave that up just for a few minutes so people can keep answering that. And we can go ahead and continue here. So just a quick agenda of what we're going to cover today. So again, I will be sending out the slide deck and the recording tomorrow, so you can expect to get those in your inbox. We're going to start with just some really quick, kind of overall touch points on what is the benefit of using AI for nonprofits. How does it kind of play into end of year and these really busy months and weeks coming up? And then we're going to go into some specific ways that nonprofits can use AI for emails, ads, campaign ideas, things like that. But before we do that, I want to talk about how to actually tailor AI to make it sound like you. Originally, I was going to include this section at the end, but then as I was putting this together, I realized it would be more helpful to kind of lead with this, just so that as we're going through the exercises and thinking through real examples, you kind of know going into it, okay, I would probably tweak this or think about it like this, or maybe make this change, or prompt it in this way because I know these things about how AI kind of works and interprets the information. So I want to go over this first because I think it's a very important part of this whole process. And I think this is actually one of the things that sometimes deters organizations, nonprofits, marketers from using AI because you're worried that it will sound robotic or people will know that you're using it. And so there are ways to use it as a tool or a stepping stool, but then make it feel original and make it sound true to your brand. So there's nothing wrong with using a tool that helps you save time and do more good, but you definitely want to keep it aligned with your overall, style and voice and all of that. So there's ways to make sure that that happens. And I want to lead with that. Then we'll go into some prompts that I've come up with that I think are a helpful starting point. And I'm going to actually hop into ChatGPT, which is the tool that I'm going to use today, although there's obviously other tools. I'll share a little resource about that goes into some free tools that are available to you. So you can pick and choose, whatever works for your organization. But I'm going to actually go into ChatGPT, show you what it looks like to put these prompts in and then tweak them. And then what I'm going to do at the end of each of these 3 sections is ask for people to drop in the chat an email campaign idea or an ad campaign idea that you have going on. And then I'm going to actually create a prompt based on that just to sort of show like real life examples in real time. So I want to make this feel like as easy and accessible as possible for anyone who has doubts or doesn't know where to start with AI. And then for people who feel like, really familiar and comfortable with it, I hope that this at least gives you some ideas of ways that you can come up with new prompts or ways to think about, using AI for some campaigns coming up. So I want to run another quick poll, like I said earlier, just to get that quick read of the room. and see how familiar everyone is with AI. So go ahead and answer this poll for me. So how comfortable are you with it? Why are you joining today? Excuse me. Do you feel like a pro? Seeing a couple pros. Pretty comfy, but need some fresh ideas, dabbled in it. Okay. I'm seeing just a couple of people answering with the fourth one, don't know where to begin. So that's promising. I love to see that people are using it and engaging with it. So hopefully all of the things that we're going to look at today feel familiar-ish, but are still helpful. And for the two of you, I'm going to call you out who said you feel like pros, please be the ones to drop in tactics and things that you found work in the chat. If you feel like a pro, share your learnings, please, with the group. But yeah, okay. Let me see if I can I share these results? Again, Zoom. Oh, yeah. Let me just share them real quick. Are you guys seeing the results? I hit share, but it's not clear on my end if you all are seeing them. Okay, cool. Perfect. So yeah, as you all can see, most people said that they're pretty comfy but need some fresh ideas, so that's great. Some people have dabbled in it, so it seems like most people are in that kind of middle space of, using it a little bit but not exactly sure how to maximize AI. So let's get into it. Okay. Let me quickly read this comment. Didn't choose pro, but one of the things I love to do is use it to segment my appeals. I write the base copy first and use AI to tailor. Yes, absolutely. We're going to go through some examples of that as well. That's a really great way to sort of save time and customize your messaging at scale. So again, a great example of, you are creating the copy, you are writing the language, it's yours. But then when it comes to generating a bunch of different versions of it, like sometimes that is just time consuming and you can lean on AI to kind of help you churn that out quickly. Okay, I just froze in a really funny angle. Hopefully I am good now. All right. So just some quick stats about year-end and Giving Tuesday. I'm sure all of you are aware of how important these days are, but obviously this is a huge, time of year for nonprofits to perform and to make sure that the campaigns that you're running are really bringing in those dollars. So it's kind of that make or break moment in the year for most nonprofits, with 30% of annual giving happening at the in December and 10% of annual giving happening in those last 3 days of December. And then last year, Giving Tuesday raised $3.6 billion. So these are huge, huge days and weeks for giving. And so it's important to make sure that you are coming up with a plan that's going to be scalable, nimble, easy to kind of, pivot if you need to, put together a quick campaign if you need to the day of, and have it be successful. So, if you wake up one morning and realize, oh, we need to like quickly churn out an email campaign about this thing, AI might be able to help you put together something quickly. Again, like Ashley said, come up with those different versions for different email segments or different list segments and, have a lot to work with quickly. So just a few stats here to really drive home the importance of these days for nonprofits. And then obviously there's a lot of challenges with this. So you're expected to do a lot more with less as usual, but there's even less time to do it, more pressure. People are already getting a lot of notifications and emails and messaging from other nonprofits, from retail companies. So in terms of the actual audience you're trying to reach, inbox saturation is high. People are just really, really getting a lot from all different directions. And so you have to try to cut through that noise effectively with the right messaging on the right channels. And you have to do it at scale because you're operating with probably a small team or at least limited resources. And so it is just a really busy time, and there's a lot of pressure. So endless content demands, emails, ads, social media posts, if you're doing direct mail, there's that too. So lots of things going on, and you probably appreciate whatever helping hands you can get. So, and just to kind of reiterate, AI doesn't have to replace your strategy or your strategic work, your creativity. You can think about it as kind of like a junior copywriter that never gets tired, always ready with the first draft, that kind of thing. So it's not here to replace your strategy or your creativity. It's here to accelerate those things. So if you think about it as, late nights, writer's block, blank pages, repetitive tasks, just kind of the same old, thing that we've always dealt with, especially when I write a lot of content. And so I think it's familiar to me, that feeling of just, staring at a page, not really knowing where to begin. And I found that for me and a lot of the work that I do, having a tool, AI tools, helps me with getting to a starting point. Or if I have a starting point, helps me sort of crank out different versions of that. A subject line, maybe I have an idea for it, but I don't love the way it sounds. Put that into ChatGPT or whatever app you're using, and it'll give you lots of options you can choose from. And even if you don't end up going with any of those options, it's still great just to have choices. So you can kind of get drafting things in minutes. It's just a really, really quick, to starting and sparking ideas, customizing things at scale, like I've said. So just kind of looking at these two options, I think, again, for nonprofits that are feeling the pressure of a lot of deadlines, a lot of content that needs to be produced with not a lot of time. I think that this probably feels more appealing if you can find the right tools and processes. So we're going to go into a lot of these things in detail, like I said, but what can AI actually do for you? These are only a few examples. There's plenty more that you can actually do with AI. There's a lot of data analysis tools out there, but just a few that we're going to be touching on today. So drafting emails, this is subject lines, headers, body copy, CTAs, button text, ad creative, social posts. So again, headers, copy, CTA, image generation. Presentations as well. So if you want to do research, that can be helpful. We will get into some of the caveats around relying on AI for information, because when it comes to factual things, you want to be fact checking always. But it can be a really good starting point. And even if it's not going to be generating the actual data points that you use, it can give you a starting point for thinking about what types of data points you want to use to support whatever pitch you're working on. Pitch decks, so it can actually put together presentations, tables, supporting imagery, things like that. And campaign ideas. So we'll go through a little bit of this toward the end as well, but actually just brainstorming ideas. If know that you want to hit a certain dollar amount for Giving Tuesday, what time frame you want to be working in and what audiences you're looking at, you can actually put all of that into ChatGPT with your organization type, feed it some past communications and messaging just to give it a sense of your brand voice, and actually get some campaign ideas that are tailored to those goals. And you can tailor it to your budget, things like that. So it's a really great brainstorming partner as well. And a lot of it is just you brain dumping into it and getting something back that's more organized. But that again can be a really great starting point for formatting an outline for something. So I find that it's a really great resource for that as well. I included this article. I found it to be really helpful. So I actually want to see. Hopefully, can anyone confirm? Sorry, Zoom is not always the best. Can someone confirm if you are seeing this article instead of the presentation? Okay, cool. Thank you guys. So I included this. It was one of the better resources I found out there. It just includes a ton of free AI tools that are available, and it breaks them down into types of work. And so starting with writing tools, obviously ChatGPT is a huge one. It's a high performant, really adaptive model, and there's a few others as well that are free. Then it goes into lots of information about each of these as well. Goes into some image generator tools, and then I believe some video tools, research and workplace productivity. Yeah, and then some other free tools. So again, ChatGPT is a really reliable one. That's the one that I use. I know a lot of people in this space use it. Actually drop in if you're using a tool other than ChatGPT. I'm curious to hear what nonprofits might be leaning toward. Yes, Lisa, I will. This is included in the deck with the link and everything. So once I send the deck out, you'll have access to this. Claude, okay, cool. Yeah, I know that that one was one of the top. I've never used Claude, but I'm gonna check it out after this, because yeah, it's obviously listed high up on here and seeing multiple people are using it. Copilot. Okay, cool. I've actually not used that one either. ChatGPT. Yep. Willy, free. Wait, I'm gonna click on this. Um, okay, yeah, I have to create a login, obviously, but cool. I've never even heard of this one. Um, Good to know. Cute, cute. I love birds. Everyone loves birds as their mascot, including us, obviously. Um, okay, let's get back into here. Okay. Um, yeah, so like I said, this will be included in the deck, so you'll have access to this resource, but I think it's a really good comprehensive one for just seeing what tools are available, trying different things. Obviously ChatGPT is the big name in the industry, but feel free to, test out different things, see what works for you. There's obviously some paid tools. There's one specifically designed for nonprofits. So whatever works best for you is the way to go. But I figure, starting with free tools is what makes the most sense, I think. Um, Use Copilot to generate thank you letter content, create reports, and analyze giving data. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, the data analysis piece is something I haven't really gotten into with AI, but I have colleagues that have used it for that, and I've heard that it can be extremely helpful. So that's great to hear that. That's happening on the nonprofit side as well. Okay, so let's get into this section about actually making AI sound like you and ensuring that you're not coming across as robotic or obviously using AI. So some telltale signs, I feel like this is like a hot topic now, just like culturally, but M dashes are one of the big giveaways. So and I've heard this from multiple people at this point, but I used to use M dashes organically. That used to be one of my favorite punctuation marks. And I used it all the time. And now I'm like, I don't want to let go of it. I still use it sometimes, but um, you gotta keep an eye on that because they will ChatGPT at least. I'm not actually sure about the other tools. Someone weigh in if you're using Claude or Copilot or one of these other ones. Do they also are they obsessed with M dashes or have they not um done that to you, done you dirty like that? It's funny because I feel like when I first started using ChatGPT, I saw a couple M dashes here and there, and I was like, oh, cool, that looks really organic because I use M dashes. And then I guess it just ran with it and they were like, oh, people love M dashes. It's so organic. And now it's just the ultimate giveaway. So yeah, so keep an eye out for those. Remove some. It's okay to keep one, but like definitely don't overdo it with the M dashes because that is kind of ridiculous and unnecessary grammatically and also is a giveaway. Too many emojis or those green check marks. I find sometimes that with bulleted lists, at least again, ChatGPT loves to do the green little check marks. And so to me, that's a giveaway at this point. So I like to replace those with bullet points or numbers or whatever, you want to use instead. And make sure you're not overloading with emojis. They love the little spaceship and yeah, so let me see it. There's a bit overloaded. Ashley, you were using um I don't remember which one you said you were using, but using okay, the ChatGPT, yeah. Yeah, you got to tweak it for sure. And then overly formal or awkward transition. So again, this is going to get better and better as you train whatever tool you're using. And most of you, as you said, are dabbling in AI or are using it pretty comfortably. And so a lot of this might be stuff but just reiterating the importance of doing these things so that, you're coming across as natural and buzzword overload. So you want to make sure that it sounds like a human wrote it and not a robot that's like learning your industry as it goes. Um, Yes, I'm going to get into that as well, but that is a great point. Actually, yeah, that's my next slide. So ways to make it sound like you, actually feeding it examples of things that you've written or things that your team has written, right? So this could be website copy. So if you have a couple of great pages on your website, your About Us page, your Donate page, even just to give it an understanding of your organization, your mission, all of that, plus the way that you like to speak to your audience. So feeding it website copy, previous emails, ad copy, social posts. So anything that you're asking it to do, you've probably done it before yourself. So you want to take versions of that you've done before and feed it into the AI tool so that it starts to learn your brand voice, your tone, all of the things, the type of wording and language that you use, and all of that, and also understands what you do as an organization. And so yeah, including previous examples, and you can kind of do like a little training session before you get started. Again, a lot of you have already gotten started and maybe have already done some of this. So with each prompt you do, you can use a previous example, but you can also like in between, just like feed it stuff that you like and that you've written. Or another thing that I like to do is if I use AI for something and then I end up tweaking it, sometimes I tweak it in there and I prompt it to kind of keep getting me to closer to where I want it to be. But sometimes if I kind of have to grab it and go and customize it, on our website or directly somewhere else, like in the email template builder, I will then take the final copy that I ended up using and preferring and put it back into ChatGPT and be like, this is what I ended up going with, just FYI. This is like what I prefer. This is what I wanted this to sound like. So it kind of learns from that. And then the more you use a tool, the more it will understand you. So if you're hopping around from one tool to another, like it will do as much as it can for you. But if you stick to one tool and really kind of build that understanding, they're designed to learn as you put more information, obviously. And so kind of continuing to prompt it, continuing to add more information is going to get you closer and closer to a point where eventually you can kind of just like chat with it and get ideas from it that really do sound like what you're aiming for. And fact check, fact check, fact check. You want to make sure that you are not relying on AI to provide real world facts or information. So it's great at kind of feeding things that you give it back to you based on all of the information that you've given it in the past. But it's not always great, at least not yet, at pulling information from the web and like making sure that it's factually sound. And so some examples of this are statistics. You don't want to rely on it for statistics without checking. So sometimes it does feedback like great stats. I actually use ChatGPT to get the stats on that first slide just to see like what it would give me. So the thing about, 30% of annual giving happens in December and the 3.6 billion dollars raised for Giving Tuesday, things like that. I actually got those from ChatGPT and then fact checked them. I went and found the source that it pulled them from, made sure that that was accurate, and it was. So I actually think it's even gotten better in the last few months at that kind of thing because earlier this year it would make things up. And so that was a problem. So you want to make sure that you are checking everything, double checking, making sure you're finding the source that it pulled things from, citing your sources, if that's necessary. And so that, yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. Uh, and so, yeah, like things like stats, names of like organizations, people, dollar statements, things like that. You just want to make sure that you are having a human review that information to be sure that it's correct and you're not putting false information out there. Okay, so let's get into some actual examples of donor email appeal prompts. So this is one that I came up with just as a starting point. So I put this together. I'm going to drop it. Actually, this wasn't the best. I'm gonna have to do this. Pardon, you're gonna see some of my tabs, but hopefully that's not a problem. Okay. Copying and pasting from presenter view is not possible. So I'm going to take this base prompt. So write an email for a holiday food drive for organization. So we're going to actually use a food bank as the example here. Keep it under 200 words, highlight impact, and include a clear call to action to give. So I'm going to put this into ChatGPT, and then I'm going to see what it gives us. And then I'm also going to pull an example here. Let me just do this first. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in here. And drop a yes in the chat if this feel or drop a yes in the chat if this feels like similar to how you structure prompts. And if not, drop like a comment in telling me how you would structure something like this. I'm just curious just because I know a lot of you are doing this and probably are quite good at it. So I'm definitely curious to hear like how you all are kind of prompting ChatGPT for an email or something like that. So I'll give everyone just a couple seconds because I am curious to hear what this would look like for you guys, and then we'll kind of look at what it generated. Okay, I love that Jane and Christine just said opposite things, but that's not bad. So Jane, yeah, definitely being as specific as possible. And this is not even really that specific. To me, this is very sort of like initial, basic points, but I will to Christine's point, I have a few like tweaks that I'm going to add to kind of prompt it to do more. But yes, providing as much content or sorry, context as possible is key to getting it to give you, what you want. I tell us keep in mind best practices for email and nonprofit communication. That's a great point as well. Um, Kind of asking it to align with, nonprofit best practices, incorporate expertise from development and marketing professionals. Yeah, that's great stuff. Okay, so this was just without even putting anything into the organization type. So we're going to do that in just a second. But as you can see here, it generates a subject line, help fill plates this holiday season, and then this email, right? So it's just not, it's generic for now, but it's providing that sort of dollar impact statement. It feels pretty conversational. So the holiday should be a time of joy, but for too many families in our community, they're filled with worry about where the next meal will come from. I feel like this sounds like something a food bank would put together. I'll sometimes prompt with an emotion. I want readers to feel inspired and excited to donate. Yes, I love that. I'll get into that in a couple minutes with some of the tweaks that I like to add to these. And a lot of it comes down to like tone and make it warmer, make it feel more engaging, make it feel more, inspiring, things like that. Add some holiday, themes. So definitely want to continue prompting it. So yeah, so this is very much like a really basic, generic, doesn't even know what the organization is. And I feel like this is a decent starting point if you really needed like an email draft in a minute, right? And so if we want to kind of customize this a little bit more, I actually wanted to, I don't know how effective this is going to be. This is an experimental webinar. Um, I'm going to use one of Feathr's customers as an example here. So write an email for a holiday food drive for the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri. Um, I've lost my one sec. Thanks for bearing with me here, guys. Um, okay, that's not working. All right, let's do that first, and then I'll go pull up my tweak notes. Okay, so we're adding in here. Let me pull them up this way. I will perfect this process, but I like being able to kind of go in and actually show this stuff in real time. Um, okay, and then let's actually take this tweak, rewrite this email for lapsed donors only to make it warm, engaging, and focused on bringing them back. Okay, so we are making this for the Central Food Bank for Central and Northeast, sorry, the Food Bank for Central and Northeast Missouri, which is a wonderful organization. And then I'm adding this. So write the email for lapsed donors, make it warm, engaging. Okay, so we've given it a little bit more information and it should give us back something more specific and more tailored toward people who have engaged and given in the past, right? So this is a warm audience, and you want to get in front of them with a different message than somebody who's never given or somebody who, just learned about your organization. So we've missed you. Your past support has helped provide meals and hope to neighbors across Central and Northeast Missouri. And this holiday season, your impact can be felt once again. Right now, thousands of families are counting on the food bank to make the holidays a little brighter. With your help, children will enjoy warm meals, seniors won't have to choose between food and medicine, and parents can gather around the table with peace of mind. Every $1 you give provides 4 meals. So again, this might not be the case. So you have to tweak those dollar impact statements, make sure they're accurate, but using them is really great. Kind of showing that authenticity is very appealing just for donors in general, making sure that they know where their money is going and can equate that to some kind of real world impact. So include these kind of statements whenever you can. Will you rejoin us in the fight against hunger? So again, rejoin versus join. They've given before. So just kind of like reminding them every chance you get that they've bought into your cause and have been engaged in the past. And so they are, a higher intent audience than someone who has never given to you before. So just reminding them and making them feel special for having given and reminding them of the reasons they gave in the past. So I think this is, a good example of kind of a more specific email, name dropping the area. So, making sure that people get this M dash out of here or add some spaces. One thing I like to do now is add spaces between the words and the M dash. You can use an N dash, that can be like a stylistic choice. So this I think is helpful. And then this is another thing that I find really helpful. I know someone mentioned something like this earlier in the chat. So they gave us a subject line, come back and make this season brighter. And they actually gave us another one, help fill plates for this holiday season. So, each time you prompt it, it often gives you like slightly different things, even if you didn't ask for, I didn't ask it for a different subject line, but it did tailor the subject line because I asked it to speak to a new audience. And so that makes sense. And so then let's say, give me 5 more subject line options for this email. And so it does that. And, we can kind of take a look at these. Your gift can bring a neighbor to the table this holiday season. We've missed you. This holiday, your kindness can feed families in Missouri. So yeah, I think that it's really great, again, for giving you options to choose from. And you might not choose any of these specific options. Sometimes I end up combining things. I'll really like, the beginning of one and the end of another and kind of merge them together and then put my own spin on it. So it's just really great it's like a little brainstorming session that you're having with yourself, basically. So especially in this age of remote work and, you're not often, like, I think back in the day, maybe a lot of you are in office in person, but I'm assuming a lot of you aren't. And I think back in the day, it was easier to kind of pull someone over and brainstorm some ideas and come up with creative things together. And I think like with a group or another person, that just feels more fun and easy. And so this kind of emulates that a little bit. Let me catch up here. I include a prompt to ensure we're not utilizing words that are not compliant with our current administration. Yep. Yep, that's a good point. Making sure that you are staying compliant with everything and making sure that you're not, putting yourself in a position that is, yeah, not ideal. Okay, so let's go on to the next example here. Okay, so I'm going to pull this base prompt in. So write a short automated email to someone who started a donation but didn't finish. So, we've been talking a lot about getting in front of people, getting in front of lapsed donors, but one of the really important high converting campaign types that you can run with ads and with emails is, donation abandonment and those automated ads and emails that go out when someone visits your donate page or your volunteer page or your event registration page, but doesn't actually take action. So you want to make sure that you're sending them timely communications, being like, hey, we saw you started doing this thing, please come back and finish, complete this form or give. And so I wanted to show an example of ChatGPT actually generating copy for one of these automated emails. So someone who started a donation but didn't finish, keep it under 150 words, be encouraging and warm, remind them of the impact that their gift can have, and include a clear link to complete their donation. So again, CTA is always important. You can ask your AI tool to make sure that they're prioritizing giving you a CTA with creative, compelling copy and making sure that you're always linking to the right place, right? So you can have the best ad in the world, but if it links to the wrong page on your site, or you're sending people who visited your donate page and left, if you're sending them to your About Us page instead of your donate page, that doesn't make sense. So again, that's very like 101 stuff, but just make sure that you're covering all your bases with that. So let's put this one in here. Okay, so I'm going to keep it generic again, just to show, because I think it's worth showing that like it can put together something pretty useful even with limited information. So hi, name, it looks like you started a donation to organization but didn't get a chance to finish. We wanted to remind you how much impact your gift can have. Every dollar helps provide nourishing meals and hope for neighbors in need. So actually this one is pulling from what we just did. It's pulling from like the food bank stuff. So this is another thing I'm actually realizing as I'm doing this. I'm going to create a new chat for this one, do it again, because what I want to do with this, it's reasonable that it did that, but what I want is for this to be a little bit more generic, not food bank based because I'm going to pull in an example from Christian Relief Fund just to compare a real email that they sent with an email that ChatGPT produces with information similar to what they were working with. So we noticed you started donation, didn't get a chance to finish. Your gift can make a real difference, blah, blah, blah. To those who need it most, if it only takes a minute to complete your donation, every dollar brings hope and support. Consider being a part. Obviously, there's a clear call to action here. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go into this email campaign in Feathr that Christian Relief Fund ran. Let me redo this prompt. This was what I was going to do. And actually put the organization name. And then I'm just going to put a couple of key points. Bringing water, food, and shelter to those in need across the world. Okay, we already told it to make it warm. This isn't that automated reminder email. Okay, so a little bit more information and the organization name. So let's see what it feeds back to us and then compare it to that real email that they sent. So we noticed you started a donation but didn't finish. Each gift to Christian Relief Fund helps bring clean water, food, and shelter to children and families in need across the world. Your generosity has the power to change lives today. It only takes a moment to complete your gift, complete your donation. Okay, so that is just like the initial version without prompting it or tweaking it to do anything different. And then let's take a look at the email that they sent. So obviously this is beautiful and designed and has great photography and things like that, but just to kind of compare it, this is what the actual email looked like. So we noticed that you started the process to make a donation to the Christian Relief Fund, but didn't complete it. We understand that life can get busy, and we wanted to remind you how impactful your support can be. So I think this is relatively similar to what this produced for us, right? So reminding them that they started the process, didn't finish, the impact that they can have, please come back. So it's the same vibe. And then obviously adding in this suggested dollar amount is really helpful. And kind of reiterating the mission and the impact that it can have. So then what I wanted to do was actually can't pull the copy from the header, but I wanted to pull all of this and give it to ChatGPT and say, this is an email that we wrote before. Can you emulate this tone and vibe and give me a new donation abandonment email? And then you put that copy directly in. So just pasting that in here. So we can take all of that, upload it. Okay. So we noticed you began making a gift to Christian Relief Fund, but didn't complete it. We know things can get in the way, but we don't want you to miss a chance to see the difference your support can make. Just $50. So again, saying 50, they said 35. If 35 is the number you want to put, just change that. And so it kind of learned, okay, they like to have a section kind of in the middle, a call out that gives that dollar amount and the impact it can have. Your gift today helps us bring relief and hope across the world, from schools and nutrition programs to vital health care. Every donation extends compassion and opportunity where it's needed most. So, and would you take a moment to finish your donation now? So again, always bringing it back to that, hey, can you please take a moment to finish doing this thing that you started? Make it feel easy and natural for them. You already were on this page, you already were considering it, just remind them of that. So yeah, I think that this feels, again, like a really good and closer starting point that you could tweak and prompt. And let's see what else I had in here for make it warmer. We kind of did that. Oh, yeah, let's see what this gives us. Is it specific to your CRM where you can figure out who has abandoned a donation? Okay, so this is related to tracking pixels that you need to have installed on different pages. So Feathr offers the ability to basically install an easy just line of code on any page that you want to track activity for. So a lot of the time this is going to be those conversion pages, so a donation page, an event registration page, things like that. You just install what we call a super pixel, but it's basically a tracking pixel or a line of code on the back end of that page. And then that allows you to see page visits. And then if you have that all in your system, you can basically track who's visited the page and then not converted in whatever way you're defining a conversion. So having the right marketing platform is where you want to be. So if your CRM has marketing capabilities and allows you to install tracking pixels on your donate page and your forms and things like that, you should be able to see who has abandoned a donation. So when we say abandon a donation, we're basically saying that they spent time on the donate page, which is a high intent signal, but then did not make a donation, or spent time on your event registration page and then abandoned. Um, Myra, is that a question for Nina? Um, cool. Yeah. Yep, Feathr has a email marketing platform built into the system. So if you're using us for, or interested in using us for display ads, retargeting, CRM retargeting, geofencing, all of those cool ad campaigns, you have access to email marketing for free in the platform. So that is available to Feathr users. It's built in. And just, the same if you're using Feathr for email and you haven't really gotten into ads yet, we always recommend sort of taking that multi-channel approach and aligning your email campaigns and efforts with ad campaigns as well, so that people are seeing your brand and your mission on multiple channels, not just in their email inbox, especially coming up on busy time, end of year. People are gonna not see every email that comes through. People get tired of opening emails in general at that point in the year. And so showing up with ads as they're browsing the web, showing up with ads on their mobile devices, um, on social media, things like that can be a really great way to stay in front of people, even if they're not seeing your emails. So you can do all of that in Feathr. There's a lot of marketing platforms out there that allow you to do that, but we're focusing on um, I'm using examples from Feathr users just because that's what I have to pull from. But yeah, let's keep going. I wanted to just see what it gives me when I ask it to come up with something a little bit more tailored. Can you rewrite it as if it's coming from our executive director? I'm doing all of this for the first time in front of you guys, so no guarantees it's going to give us the optimal stuff. But again, that's the whole point. You have to tweak things. Um, I will say too, this probably isn't the best example to have come from an executive director. They probably wouldn't be writing the donation abandonment. That would be more like, a first-time website visitor wanting to know more about the organization. Maybe you have a letter from the executive director explaining more, or maybe you have like one big email campaign that goes out to all of your donors or past donors from your executive director, kind of sharing about the mission and making that appeal. So I think these automated emails would more likely be from, your organization's, just from your team or from, a specific person at the organization. But it does, tailor it because I asked it to make it a little bit more personal. Thank you for considering this step. Together we can continue to bring relief. Um, yeah, and just saying, I completely understand. I wanted to, like, that's obviously more personal than the previous version because it's coming from a person. So yeah, you can play around with that. And if you do want to write kind of like a letter from the executive director type email, you can have like a bulleted list or some just quick talking points from them that you want to include, drop that in here, add some points about what kind of tone you want, and then get a starting point for that. Okay, let's do the same thing. Well, I wanted to do this, but I don't think we'll have time. Let's come back to this exercise at the end, in case we have time, but I wanted to just give a couple more real examples of ad prompts. So let's pull this one in. So write 3 ad headlines and 3 short body text options for a donation abandonment campaign. Keep headlines under 40 characters. Focus on reminding supporters to finish their gifts and include urgency around year-end giving. So let's start a new chat just because it's obviously going to pull previous stuff in a way that we don't necessarily want. Let's go ahead and already put an organization name in here. I'm going to use Guiding Light, which is another amazing organization that we work with at Feathr. This is for Guiding Light, an org that provides shelter, recovery, and other services to men and women struggling with addiction. Okay, so let's say 3 add the headlines for a donation abandonment campaign for year-end donations. Let's add in that detail. Okay, let's see what it gives us. Okay, so again, this is for ads, right? So if you want to just kind of crank out some quick options to mix and match for some ads that you're trying to launch, finish your gift before December 31st. Your impact is still waiting. Don't miss year-end giving. You were so close to making a difference. Complete your gift today to help men and women find shelter, recovery, and hope before the year ends. Every dollar counts in these final days of the year. Your donation can be the light someone needs to break free from addiction and rebuild their life. Also, reminding people of tax deductible, like the tax benefits of giving before the end of the year. This can be a really great way to kind of pull in some of those donations. So don't shy away from doing that if it makes sense for your organization. Time is running out to make your 2025 tax deductible gift. Finish your donation now and give the gift of safety, healing, and a fresh start. So just wanted to show some of the actual ads that Guiding Light ran for their end of year donation abandonment campaign. So you can see here, they have different ad sizes, size variations for different platforms. But these are just some of the ads that they ran. I think these are really eye-catching and great. I like that they use lowercase fonts for the words. I feel like it stands out and it's unique and a nice kind of contrast with the all caps here. So really creative, nice looking ads. So yeah, we still need your help. Give the gift of new life today. And so, what we could do is pull in some of this language and say, hey, these are some of the ads that we've run in the past. Please use some language like this. So let's say give the gift of new life today. Let's add that in because I don't think I think it said give the donation can be the light. Yeah. Add some language around give the gift of new life today. And it'll give you some new options, literally the headline. And then depending on what kind of layout you're working with ads, I think that these are really effective because they're not text heavy. There's a good amount of like breathing room on the layout, on the design, and I do recommend that. And so I think that these could get a little long. Let's say make the body text shorter. Is thinking. Okay, so shorter, punchy, ad ready copies or copy options. So, you have these headlines still up here that you can pull from and mix and match with these. So these are a little shorter. Your year-end gift brings healing and new life to men and women ready for a fresh start. So again, I think these are pretty good. I think they sound pretty human. You might remove that M dash, especially on an ad. It's like you just have one sentence and there's an M dash in it. Come on. And here too. So yeah, I would when in doubt, remove them or replace them with something else. You could literally change this to time is short, period, and make this a separate sentence. So there's lots you can do there. But yeah, okay. Let's see. And then one more quick example here. Okay, so the base prompt is write 3 ad headlines under 40 characters each and 3 short ad body texts under 20 words to recruit volunteers for a holiday food drive. So, reaching donors is not the only thing that you can do with ads and with email, obviously. And so it's not the only thing that you can use AI for. You can use AI to generate ideas and content for all kinds of outreach. So let's try an example for getting some volunteers in a new chat. And, as you're working, like I'm obviously pulling in different campaign ideas with different organization types, but you probably, for the most part, can work within the same thread a lot of the time because you're only putting in stuff about your mission and your organization and your goals. And so, if you're working on like one really specific content project, you might create a separate thread for that than like your regular email comms or your newsletter, things like that, but you don't need to be switching up the threads as often as I am. I just don't want to dilute the information with sort of unrelated stuff that I have above. Okay, so again, we're trying to get volunteers to come help with a food drive. So help fill holiday tables, neighbors need you now, share the season's joy. So then some examples of body text, lend a hand this holiday, volunteer and bring meals, hope, and warmth to families in need. Join your community to fight hunger. A few hours of your time can make all the difference. Give your time, spread generosity. Together, we can ensure no family goes hungry this season. And then I think yeah, sometimes it'll actually just give you an idea for another prompt. So let's just say yes to this because I think some more playful variations could be helpful. And then also, you want to make sure A/B testing messaging always. And so ads can be a really great kind of low lift way to do that. Just run a couple of different sets of ads in the same campaign and compare how they're performing. So, if you want to compare some kind of like urgent, more serious language with some more like heartfelt language or some playful stuff, you can kind of create different ads and launch them and see which ones perform better and then lean into whatever's performing better. And then, yeah, so it gave us a few more options, a little bit more playful. So be a holiday hero, wrap up hunger, a season of giving starts here. And then, yeah, and I do think for something like this, you'd want to include something about volunteering in the copy somewhere. So I think that, wrap up hunger this season by volunteering. I think that that's important. You have such little time and such little space to actually say what it is that you're asking for. So make sure that you're maximizing the space that you're using on the ad and really focusing on the right keywords and stuff like that. So if you're looking for volunteers, probably want to make that clear as possible on the ads. Um, yeah, okay. And then real quick, I'm going to, yeah. I'm going to launch another quick poll to see who would like to receive this resource when it's coming out. So this is going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. So in October, we're going to be launching a library of ad templates. So they're going to be Canva templates. Let's launch this. So drop a yes if you want me to put you on the list to receive those. You'll be first in line to get access to these. You can kind of see in the background, they're really, really beautiful. We worked with an amazing designer to get these stood up. And so it's going to be a really easy to use resource where you can go onto a page and click through, find your industry, and then select ads that you want to run with. You click into them in Canva. We have really easy interactive instructions on how to customize them if you want to. You can also use them as is, just obviously swap out your logo and then they'll be good to go. But this is a free library that we're going to be launching really soon. And so I see a lot of people dropping in yeses. So I'll put you on the email list to receive that when it's available. And hopefully this gives you a good starting point for if you want to get some ads up and running quickly. And some of these can be applicable for Giving Tuesday and end of year, but we're going to also launch a new set of ads closer to then that are specific for Giving Tuesday and for end of year campaigns. And so we'll add that onto the library as additional templates you can pull from. And so that'll be coming soon. So I'll be sure to give you all access to that. And since we're coming up on time, I did include one more prompt in here, but I'm going to let you all take a look at this when you receive the deck in your inbox tomorrow. But this is just a prompt for thinking through an actual campaign idea. And so, it can help you, AI can help you generate content if you give it specific goals and your audience segment and all of the things we've seen, but it can also help you brainstorm campaign ideas in general. So if you have, some specific goals for your end of year campaign, you know who you're trying to reach, or you have some ideas about it, but you don't really know where to start or like what kind of cadence you should use for your emails and your ads and how you should align those things, how often to post on social media, things like that. You can actually work with your AI tool to kind of give you some ideas, some starting points, and a full outline. It'll give you a full outline for a suggested strategy or plan. Then you can tweak that or prompt it and kind of keep working with the tool to give you something that you can actually use. But I think this is another great way to use AI. And like I said earlier, pitch decks, presentations, all kinds of things, data analysis, it can be useful for lots of different things that you have going on. And then once you're doing your sort of end of year impact report and really like wrapping up and trying to understand everything that happened this year and turn that into something that you can share with the world at the beginning of next year, AI can probably help you with that as well, sort of taking that data, turning it into something digestible and helpful to show your impact. So sorry we didn't get a chance to do this interactive portion, but I feel like it was relatively interactive in the chat anyway. So thank you for everyone who participated. And then I'm going to launch one more quick poll, lots of polls today, just to see if anyone is interested in learning more about Feathr.